Today, you're going to learn about the 4 immigration advantages that you get when marrying a U.S. citizen.
Hi there and welcome to our channel. My name is Margarita.
And my name is Dixon.
We make videos for people like yourself who are going through the marriage adjustment of status, meaning filing for a green card from inside the United States.
We're immigration lawyers, and our channel is based on our own personal experience with this process, experience as lawyers, and the experience of the members of our marriage immigration method.
So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're always up to date.
When it comes to marriage immigration, and specifically the marriage adjustment of status process, there are some significant differences that can arise depending on whether you're married to a U.S. citizen versus a green card holder or legal permanent resident.
One of less discussed topics are the immigration advantages you receive when marrying a U.S. citizen.
And you'll want to stick around to the end to find out about the biggest perk that you'll get, as well as our bonus tip.
Alright, so let's start with an unauthorized employment.
The first advantage you get when marrying a U.S. citizen has to do with employment. One of the eligibility rules for adjustment of status is that you must have never worked without permission in the United States.
But what happens if you do end up working without permission?
This would make you ineligible to apply for the adjustment of status.
However, there are some exceptions to these eligibility rules.
One such exception relates to immediate relatives of U.S. citizens.
The exception states that the spouse, parent, and children under age of 21 of U.S. citizens are not barred from adjusting status even if they worked without authorization.
But here's a very important point.
You must disclose your unauthorized employment on your application.
We know what it's like to be in this immigration process and feel completely intimidated by the USCIS and possibility of losing your ability to stay in the U.S. and stay with your spouse.
And while engaging in unauthorized employment technically broke that rule, it is forgiven and needs to be disclosed.
And here's why it's so important to mention this employment.
The expectation is that you are being honest when applying for the immigration benefits you seek.
If, for instance, you decided not to disclose your employment and the USCIS finds out,
the potential consequences could be extreme.
For example, you could be accused of fraud and misrepresentation, and even though the employment would have been forgiven, you would now be in a situation where the USCIS is accusing you of trying to mislead them and gain immigration benefits through deceit.
That is why it is so important to understand that this employment is forgiven and then maintain truthfulness to ensure you benefit from this advantage but don't create any complications.
And one final point we want to make is that this exception is not available to spouses of green card holders. For you guys, you'll need to make sure that you completely comply with the eligibility rules for the adjustment of status process.
Next thing is faster naturalization.
Now, this is a huge advantage that spouses of U.S. citizens receive.
This is big because it saves you years of time and gets you done with the immigration journey significantly faster.
This advantage relates to the 3 and 5 year rules.
These rules dictate the amount of time required before foreign spouses can apply for citizenship. Marriage to a U.S. citizen means you get to save 2 full years.
But you need to know the following 3 requirements to ensure that you can take advantage of this special benefit.
First, the 3-year rule requires that you have 3 years of continuous living in the United States. If you leave for long periods of time or applied and received a re-entry permit, that time will be deducted.
Second, a key condition for applying under the 3-year rule is that you must have been living in marital union, meaning you have to have been living together with your U.S. spouse for at least 3 years before filing for naturalization.
Importantly, you and your U.S. spouse must remain married until the time the applicant naturalizes, but living in marital union requirement is only required until the time of filing.
Thirdly, if you divorce your U.S. spouse before 3 years, you will no longer be eligible for the 3-year rule and will then have to apply under the 5-year rule.
While this might seem like a setback, it still presents a pathway to citizenship even if your marriage has ended. So keep positive and you will be through this process in no time.
And if you're interested in learning how to have your interview waived and potentially shave off even more time of this process, then you should definitely check out our other video.
We go into some timeline examples for members of our marriage immigration method, with one member having their case approved in only 2 months and with no interview.
Okay, now to the third advantage, which is current status and unlimited quota.
The third advantage that marriage to a U.S. citizen will get you is that your visa category will always be current and there is no limit under this category.
So what exactly does this mean?
Starting with your visa category, you get to benefit from current status, which will never change.
This means that the USCIS will process your case as soon as it's submitted.
For example, marriage to a green card holder will make you subject to potential category changes.
And if your category ceases to be current, the visa bulletin will show up to which date the USCIS is currently processing applications.
Meaning the USCIS could be processing cases from a number of years ago and you will be in line to be processed when the USCIS finally catches up to the date when you applied.
But through your marriage to a U.S. citizen, you will always have your application processed as soon as it's submitted.
The next thing is that there is no visa limit for immediate relatives of U.S. citizens.
Other categories have limits, which means that the USCIS will not process your case if the quota for the United States has been met.
Your marriage to a U.S. citizen, thankfully, does not have this potential limit.
So the advantage you have here is that you can apply immediately after getting married and not run the risk that the quota for the year has been met and then having to wait for it to reset.
And as a quick bonus tip, you can save a lot of time by preparing your application before you get married so that you can submit it as soon as you have your marriage certificate.
This way, you waste no time in getting into the USCIS processing door.
Also, drop a quick comment letting us know if you're married to or are marrying a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and when you're planning on starting on your application.
Okay, advantage number 4, overstaying your visa.
Finally, the last requirement for meeting the adjustment of status eligibility criteria is that you must not have violated your non-immigrant or parolee status since your last lawful admission to the United States.
However, marriage to a U.S. citizen provides an exception to this rule.
Even if you overstayed your visa, the USCIS provides an exception for immediate relatives of U.S. citizens.
Again, as mentioned about unauthorized employment, it's extremely important to be honest and forthcoming about these things, meaning you will have to answer yes on certain I-45 questions, and it can be intimidating.
But that's going to be easier for you now that you're aware that you won't be in any trouble as a result of these exceptions.
Couples often reach out to us completely terrified about visa overstay, thinking that they would need a special waiver for it, which really is not the case.
Now with the bonus tip.
The exceptions to the marriage adjustment of status process apply even if you worked without authorization or overstayed your visa for years.
In other words, they are not measuring the time and your forgiveness is preserved.
Although, keep in mind, it's better to get through this process as quickly as possible, especially given that immigration laws often change, and even more so when political winds shift.
I really hope that you found this video helpful.
Let us know if you have any additional questions in the comments,
Good luck with your green card application process.
and we'll see you in our next video.